Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special episode, a Father's Day special of the Guys Connect. I'm excited to have the guys back. Vicarex, you're welcome.
Pleasure to be here. I heard you guys loved the last one we did, so we are back again to bring in double insight.
Thank you very much. And Adekule Diamond.
Always a pleasure to be here.
And I have Chibax.
Yes, it's always nice to be here to connect.
And without any doubt, my co-host, PK.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Today's episode is very, very important to me, and I'm sure to many people. I remember vividly the season 1, we had a conversation around Father's Day special and some of the feedback we got. And I remember then I said, we couldn't have some conversation, and I hope that at the next Father's Day at some other point in time, we'll be able to have this interesting conversation. From fathers who raised us, to fathers who left us, or fathers who left us to be raised by ourselves or by the streets, as some will say, or whatever the conversation is, or those father figures who stood out when the real fathers or the biological fathers weren't aware, or those so-called fathers who are actually not fathers. Whatever the story, whatever your reality, today we'll be uncovering, having conversations around fathers figure or father wound, father figures or father's wound. Many people have different experience. For some, it's been good experience with their fathers. For some, it's not been so much great of experience. And when we talk about fathers, we're not just talking about biological fathers. And anyone, be it spiritual fathers, be it biological, whatever it is, at some point, the expectation is that we've all had some experiences, and that's what we'll be having today. And then that leads me to my very, very first conversation I want to have today. We have cases, especially in this part of the world, where we have fathers who tell you what to do, but don't show you how to do it. Or some who just believe that by being authoritative or whatever it is, sometimes unconsciously shut down your voices. Whatever it is, you have different experience. I'd like to hear different experience, that personal experience, and please, at some point, if you can be vulnerable, share experience that can help our viewers understand some of this topic and be able to deal with it well. I don't know, want to take a stab at this? Adekule, what's your experience? Why are you saying no?
I want my elders to go first.
Are you the physical party leader?
I think for me, growing up, how do I put it now? So I think mine, basically, I think when I reflect back now, I feel, I think literacy, or my father not being a literate person, he's not literate, so probably that's one of the reasons why he did what he did. Left to my father, I should be aluminium, people making this aluminium, fixing aluminium, or a barber or a tailor. He never believed in going to school, that kind of like get at school and learn, because that kind of a thing. Like, so it took courage and the fact that I was a defiant, let me put it that way. People say, this guy is I've always been like that. Days when I wake up as early as 5 to study in a one-room apartment. My father like, the light is disturbing me. I don't
you
care
want to study?
Do you understand? Like, so I have to leave the house like as early as possible just to get. And that's a problem on its own. The fact that you are leaving the house early, my father will tell you, are you want to open the school gates? We were staying around. If you're familiar with Lagos, stay around that Papa Shafa. My school was in Ikeja, and I trekked to school.
Distance.
So I trekked to school. Not like do you get? So I like to leave the house as early as 6:37. At least to get to school, let's say before 8. If I then try to settle down with. So those are some of the challenges I had. So it wasn't something. How do I put it? So at the end of the day, I had to just forgive him. It hurt me most of those times. But now when I reflect, I feel like because I've seen my friends that had parents that went to school, the cherry school, and he could have done.
So more like he couldn't offer what he himself doesn't understand or doesn't have.
Absolutely. I remember when I got my admission to Olabisi Onabanjo University, when I broke the news to him, what he told me was that your cousin, all of them went to OAU where they are paying 7,000 naira tuition. You are going to Olabisi OAU where your school fee, my first fee was 205,000. Where do I see that kind of money? How I paid is another, but how I survived uni for 5 years, law school, and all of that. in fairness to him, he tried, but I can tell you that, if I even calculate everything I spent up through my uni to law school and all of that, I'm not sure it can go up to 10 or 20%. But I am where I am today. Like I said, probably he doesn't value what he doesn't understand. So at times I've been through that, but now I can probably tell people, his son is a lawyer and all of that. So I think that for me, just that was for me like, okay, is it more reason you should forgive this man because he doesn't know that. I think that has been my this. But I went through hell growing up, and and my dad is abusive when it comes to like if he's talking, you have to like be like some meters away. Because anything he chose. In fact, I remember an incident like that. I'm saying this to apologize to my older brother. I think he will just be, if he's watching this now, he's going to be like hearing for the first time. So that was when I think it was sometime in 2002 or 2003 thereabout, or 2005 thereabout. So when this VCD came out, Contra, we played Battle City Contra. So I brought my friends to the house, came to play game. Then unfortunately for me, while we were like done, I was trying to watch that because I know when it gets back. I was trying to like take out the discs. So when I opened, so it didn't open. I took out the discs. They took the lights, so I couldn't like close the VCD to go in back. So I tried everything possible. I couldn't. And so when it came, the first thing.
Don't tell me you said it's what.
I said I said my elder brother that did it. When my elder brother walked in, oh mom, the way he beat him. So unfortunately for him, so my younger brother, he was still like very young, 6 months, 7 months. So there is this coughlin syrup or something, like 7 7 key something. There was a drug like that. So while he was beating him, the drug fell, the bottle broke. Then my dad carried him and hit him on that bottle. So he still had that scar there. So so that's just one of many.
I can understand. That's why when we said this episode is father figures and father wounds, it's not necessarily to spotlight bad fathers, but also to help people heal. Sometimes in saying these things, sometimes you are able to elevate above those reality, and it's all everywhere. Some from biological fathers, some from spiritual fathers, from all kinds that you've experienced, and people because of that are dealing with all kind of trauma. Marks in that's where I was raised, and so I'm doing this and that. That's why I knew that this conversation needs to be something we need to have often, and I'm very sure there is a conversation that we are going to have a first part and second part too. So I'm not surprised if you see this have a part two. PK, you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to thank him for the forgiveness that you have offered. Incidentally, less than a week I was teaching about forgiveness. And one area I could not get to is one of the ways to forgive is to find reasons. I say it carefully because when you talk about finding reasons for people, it will sound like you're making excuses for them. But you see, Jesus did it. And he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Ignorance is a major reason why people do what they do. And you can tell. Somebody may just be angry or wonder why is this person angry? I know somebody told me before, why am I always angry? So anger is fed by a lot of things that you may not be aware of. And like we did in one of our episodes, men don't talk. But you have offered grace because you have grown. All right. So, and I really appreciate that. And I want young men out there to lean into this. Somebody like you have been able to overlook these things and say, well, I give a good reason that I'm familiar with. He doesn't know as much. So I just overlook it. This is one of the ways to receive grace, to forgive. He's human and he may not know some things. Right. So generally speaking, fatherhood is a very sacred responsibility. And for me, I would say as things are changing from generation to the other generation, we have to now learn. We have to learn fast how to now navigate our own fatherhood. We are not that we only have fathers. We are becoming. Some of us are fathers. Some of us are becoming fathers. So then, how do we then model a better fatherhood to our own children in a changing environment? I think I'll stop there for now. I'll probably answer it before the end of the episode so that we can talk.
So I'd like to know what did your dad model, intentionally or accidentally? I'd like to hear from Chibox.
Okay, so taking off from what the guys have said, I like to say that if you know better, you will do better.
Yeah.
I think from what PK said, looking for excuses, that has always been my excuse. That if they knew better, they would have done better. No matter how wicked someone is to you, even a witch, if a witch knew better, that's come on, you don't need this. You understand? Even a witch or a wizard will do better. For me, my biological father, I will not say I had so much experiences with him.
Yeah.
Because he eventually got separated from my mom.
Okay.
So
that's a different dynamic.
Starting off, my grandmother played the father figure. Because initially my dad and my mom relocated to the UK. So I was living with my grandma in Nigeria. So when they came back to Nigeria, my dad and my mom, and we moved in together as a family. The marriage did not last. I don't remember it lasting more than maybe a year or two. So they had to go their separate ways. So I went with my mom, which is usually the case. Mothers will take their children, and my dad basically. So it was it was almost as if I was trained to see my dad as an enemy. Like I was, I think there was this thing about them thinking that my dad would come someday to my school to just take me away. So they had, indoctrinated me, letting me know that, see, if you see him wrong, I remember the first time I saw my dad after the separation, I ran.
Ran away.
I ran. But, of course, later in life, we got back together, got close. And, of course, I got to understand that it was just issues between both of them.
Yeah, not about
to do with me. And over the course of my lifetime, we'll become close again. Not as close as it should be, because those foundational phases of my life, it was not there. So I sense those gaps there even till now. We're almost like, when we relate now, it's almost like you're just talking to somebody that is a fellow man, just a fellow man, nothing too intimate, So I've leaned more on spiritual fathers, that kind of thing, and
say spiritual father. I want us to. I'm very convinced I'm going to have a part 2 to this conversation, because I don't think it's going to head there, because it's something I personally want to talk about, because not from my experience, but experience of engaging with people, and because sometimes when you have challenge with your biological father, the expectation, the natural expectation is that maybe if other father figures or spiritual father comes in to plug that gap, and sometimes what do you do when that is also another problem, and manage? And I think it's something we'll talk about. Sorry, did you?
No. I mean, it's good. I think it's something we should talk about.
Yes,
because especially because they're expected to know better. Spiritual fathers. They're not like they're illiterate. They're educated. They're spiritually sound. And you still find them wanting. And you're just wondering, okay, so where do we turn to? Really?
That's very. But I'd like to hear from Victor. VCADEX.
Well, I think that fatherhood is such a critical component. So much so that God revealed himself as a father. Of all the things that we choose, it's father. And I think it's important that people who are fathers or father figure understand the responsibility on their shoulder in that regard. And one of the poem I wrote, I said, if what some people are experiencing is fatherhood, it is no brainer that people are running away from the fatherhood of God. Because if what we are modeling to them as fatherhood is authoritarian, it's problematic, then why would I want an all-powerful being who has more power to do infinitely more to me than you're currently doing? Now, I think that maybe men should go to finishing school before they become fathers. It's critical, it's important. Again, this we're talking about, they didn't know better, but much more than that. There are other factors that are at play. Number one, the community you're in. There are places in Nigeria, where it's okay for the man to not work, to just sit at home and gist. In the morning, they will go to where they're selling newspaper and argue, come back home and beat their wives. That's the norm. If you take them out of that environment and put them somewhere else, they can learn to be better. There's a bit around the education. There is the bit around just exposure by traveling. When you go to other places and you see what's possible. There's also the bit around understanding your roots. In doing some research, I understood that the way the African people take care of children is much more different than after the colonial influence. It was the colonial influence that brought around a lot of capital punishment. Like parents were much more civil-minded towards their children. And when you're living in a community, like even if you discipline the child, there are people that it's becoming overboard. There is someone the parent respects that would be like, only one of my Lord of me, this child is with me, and because you respect me, you may not punish that child because they've come to me and I'm city of refuge. There were all of those pieces that mitigated the effect, but now that we are very isolated, we are isolated from the rest of the world. Your word is rule, even when you cannot see how badly you're behaving. Right. For me, what my father modeled to me was defiance. He put a defiant spirit in me. My father felt like he had a point to prove to the world. He had the need to prove to the world that it was not a failure. He had the need to prove to the world that in the end he will be vindicated. So he would go the extra mile to do this, but because of some other inefficiencies, he may not get the result that he need, and that has been passed to me. Now I'm working on my need to prove to the world that I'm worth something. I am my own man. I can become something in my life. At some point, I was saying my success will be my revenge, but I needed to become so successful and prove to everyone that But then I've moved away from that space, right? But that defiance has helped me through my life. So I served in Maiduguri. Everybody was afraid of Boko Haram. I was like, there's nothing we will survive. Right? When my service ended, I was like, no, my dad does not have company that he will give me. This is my own chance. I will not live on certainty for uncertainty. So I know that I can go anywhere in the world and thrive. And that's a byproduct of the kind of fatherhood that I had.
All right. That's very, very insightful, and I like where you came from for landing at your own personal experience. And I think it's very important that we explore these conversations. Of course, some of us may. I remember the first time we had this similar conversation. My dad was alive. Now he's not alive again. But somebody made a statement that is for me. I can relate to. Sometimes some of the things that you judge your father for, when you become a father, or you might find it a bit better or easier to not make excuses for them, but understand. Now, it doesn't mean that you are doing it yourself, but you also now understand, because you are now at the junction they were in. Because there are days where, as a father, you have to pretend to be who you are not. Your daughter assumes, or your son assumes that my daddy is the richest man in the world. And they make convention, don't worry, I'll tell my daddy I'll buy it for you. Because you know you cannot buy it. And sometimes you react to that child out of frustration of not being able to live to the expectation of that child. And sometimes you go overboard without knowing, not because you intended to do it, but it becomes that you are living your own frustration. And sometimes, and so you now understand, maybe some of those days that I think my dad didn't like me, we didn't care for, maybe he actually didn't have. Or maybe he actually didn't know how to undo that situation that he found himself. And the only thing, sometimes, especially in those older generation, permit for our viewers on San Yoruba, permit me, they say, that's it rough. You don't know how to do something, you just use like you said, authoritarian, just forget about it, just don't ask me any question, because truly deep down, not because you don't want that question to be asked, but because you don't have an answer, or you don't want to be seen as ineffective or inefficient, you now find a way to just, unconsciously, unfortunately, by doing that, they have also sown a seed in that child to see you as who you didn't intend to publish yourself as. But unfortunately, you have. So I think it's very important we have this conversation. I'd like to hear from PK. PK, I know your dad, especially from the background, and all that. And I would like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. So about what he modeled to me, I think a life of service to others, then love when it comes to the home.
Yeah.
And understanding. He was a man that understood. I mean, he was a teacher when he started out in that before politician and business. Yeah. So at the time, at my teenage years, I felt that my mom wasn't understanding me. But I was very encouraged by when I realized that he understood me. And rather, so today I'm trying to use the same for my children. So it's not everything you shout at a child, it's not everything you beat the child for. There are rare children who just want to be rebellious for being rebellious' sake. They're rare, it's understanding. I was somewhere, I was at a hospital during the week, and there was a lady who was trying to rebuke the child and stop the child from doing something, and just kept saying, the boy is about 3 years old, smart, good looking boy like that, just all over the place. The mom said, don't touch it, don't go there. As she was saying it, he was touching whatever he was.
And he was going there.
I watched for a few minutes. I said, madam, change your strategy. I said, these boys, they are smart. This 3-year-old you are looking at is smart. Things have moved, right? We're even in the smarter generation now.
Yeah.
So you don't tell him, as you're telling him don't touch it, ask him, say, why are you telling him not to touch it? So can you just answer his question by saying what you want to say? Don't say, it's hot, it's dirty. Where it's going is hot. Don't say don't touch it, tell him it's hot. Tell him it's dirty, tell him it's dangerous, tell him you go fall. So and he did that. He just told the guy, he does being dirty. The boy just like and just let him run away. And Fed, I said, okay, because you do not want to communicate to your children the way you were communicated to if it didn't work. So now you are repeating the same thing here. So what he did as at that time that I talk so highly of him is the fact that he demonstrated such a very dexterous level of understanding. He was not the surface guy. So rather than beat you, one day, the school said I jumped over the fence. I didn't jump over the fence. So in our school in those days, what to do is there's a broken part of the fence. If you walk through that broken part, they will say you have jumped over the fence. So one of my friends whose house was close to us would say, let's go to our house. We're going to eat when we go to that place now. So I followed him. After spending my own money, so we went to his house and ate. On our way coming, and they have locked the school gates. What I was going to do, the guy said, we should go and pass through the fence. I said, what do you mean? See if you pass through this. Anyway, we passed through. We were caught. And taken to the principal. So, and my dad got to know, and he was disappointed. Because of all things, he's not fence, I will jump. So everybody, my mom was saying, hey, what do you want? We just looked into the car and said we should drive. We just driving, he didn't say anything. At one point, they say, he told me you were in a language. He said, one will forgot now. That he just said something. I heard they said, you jumped over the fence. So, and demanded, he didn't want to know, So, in fact, he told me something that I probably have not said publicly, that if they said I did, that's what he used to do when he was he was not a good thing. If he said I did that he would do, he would understand.
Yeah.
But I've never jumped over a fence before. Why would you go and do that? So I took that from him, that he's able to communicate. I was able to explain. Of course, he corrected me. So that love and that understanding is a big deal to me, and I think I really learned that from him.
Well, that's interesting. So for me, I think it's a mix. There's love, but somewhat communicated in strict principles. And so sometimes when I hear people say, "Oh, my dad is this," sometimes I struggle to, maybe because I now understand, I struggle to see it as, because I try to understand the difference between discipline and punishment. Because that one of the things he tries to say, okay, this one is punishment and this is discipline. You try to put a structure. Yeah, of course, are they somewhat not 100% right all the time? Yes. Sometimes it might not just be the right thing to do, but it's also very important that we manage have an understanding as you grow older what could have been at play. So for me, it was it can be sometimes I didn't understand why I couldn't do something like other children. I couldn't go out the way other children can go out when they want to go out and all that. So sometimes initially I struggle I struggle to believe that he loved me because I see more of there's almost like something monitoring your next wrong move so that you can be called out on it. But you can also see, and that's why for me I said it's mixed. You can also see his concerted effort to ensure that my father is that man who will rather my father doesn't like owing, but if he's come to your school education, everything, he will rather owe the whole world and ensure that you have the best possible education that you can. He would go all out. The day I found out my father was at the point, was in lots of debt, because I know he's not a man who drinks, who smokes, who go. He doesn't spend. My father can go years without spending one dime on himself. So when I know how much he was owing at the point, I felt like all for us, so for me, so that's why I can understand sometimes when it seems as if the discipline went a bit overboard. It's like I'm virtually giving my life for you and you're messing around. So that's why I said now I understand. Now exactly the school I couldn't go. This was a man who had to run away from home at 17 to go and farm just to go to school. So he's not giving you that school on the platter with loans, with everything, and you no one to read. You want to, you can understand where the frustration will come from. Like, do you know what I went through? So sometimes, but if you don't know those background, you might just feel like this person, my father is a bad person, he's too harsh, he's too. That doesn't take away from the realities that are bad fathers. For me, like I said, for every time you have anything good, there's a bad version. So that cannot be. I'm just saying that. But sometimes the older you become and the more of the background you understand, it might give you a bit of context. And be able to, absorb in some cases and other. Like I want to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to say that. And in some cases, like my father, in some cases they tried to make it up.
Yeah.
Because I remember vividly as we were talking, I just remember my father when he came back into my life after, not like he came back with my mom, but they allowed him to come into my life.
You finished secondary school at the time?
I think I had not finished secondary school. Okay. I remember him trying to get me into St. Gregory's College.
Okay. I was going to ask who paid through St. Gregory's?
No, it was him. Okay. So at that point he had come back.
Okay.
Because it was through primary school that, it was separated from my mom.
Yeah.
So I think by primary 6 or something was when he came back. Because I remember him trying to get me into St. Gregory's College. I didn't get into St. Gregory's College early enough. I got in SS1.
Yeah.
So I had to go to Ogun State and he got me a private hostel and everything.
Yeah.
So what I noticed he tried to do was that he tried to buy back the lost time with money. So he did anything I said I wanted. I remember when I got into St. Gregory's College, because of course St. Gregory's College is an elite school and all that. The first thing he told me was, when you get into class, find out who brings the highest amount and let me know. So of course I liked these sons of the wealthiest people in Lagos, and of course the tradition school. A lot of prominent people that have gone through the school want their sons to go to that school. So I know I lied to him that I called him figure that I knew that, and he started giving me every month.
Wow.
So I was one of the most flamboyant,
So
went to school. So I saw that it was what of a benefit in those years.
So you lashed on it.
And I'll take my friends to his office to say he should do shopping for all of us. I was just being sport. He spent so much money trying to buy those times back.
Yeah.
I could see that he was really trying.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for this.
Thinking about this, you can't separate fatherhood issues from men's issues.
Yeah.
Many a times, many of these fathers felt emasculated. They felt like they had nothing to offer, they had nothing to give, and that just built up pressure within them.
Yeah.
And maybe the mistake some of them did was to transfer that aggression to their children, to their spouse, to other people. And just like you said, you know, as we grow up, we can relate more and more to many of these issues, and we can see their viewpoint, and it becomes easier to try and forgive them. Not that I want them to get away with it, but like, okay, I understand better. And another thing I wanted to touch on was that many a times it also comes from a place of, again, it's emasculation, right? You can see your child going through a path that you yourself have gone through, and it didn't bode well for you.
True.
And you want to do all you can to stop them from making that same mistakes, but you're not equipped to help them. And your action in trying to derail them from that path of destruction now comes up as a very problematic one. And then when the child can be saying, maybe you did something similar when you were young, I've heard the story, why don't you want me to do the same thing? Again, it comes back to, you know, being equipped and being ready for the journey of fatherhood and where that would take us, and where that would demand of us. It's important to also say that I think it's a terrible thing when fathers incur the wrath of their children. It's a very terrible thing. Number one, the respect out of the window. And so my brother, for example, had got into a point where he was not interested, when we were much younger, he was interested in hearing what you had to say. He had become Ojebalo. It had become like, if I do this action, I will take 6 strokes of the cane. Is it worth it? Then I'll do it. So it was no longer an argument of between what is right and what is wrong. It's like, do I want this thing enough to bear the consequence? Again, talking about defiance that I mentioned earlier, you weigh the cost and you're able to do it. And I remember that, I mean, maybe it was in my foolishness when I was young. I was talking to someone said, you know, the Bible said, honor your father and your mother so your days can be long on. And I said, if that's what it would take for me to live long, I don't want to live long. I held on to that for years because at the point it felt like anytime they wanted, it felt like that was like a scripture they wanted to mori me my bed. Like they felt like that was a cheat code to bring me to do their bidding, to make me submit. And I'm not ready to submit. And I'm like, if this is the cause, I don't want to live long. And I will tell you, Martin Luther King died at 31. There are people who did not live long and made impact. But again, as I grew older, I became calmer in my approach, and I began to see, you know, the reason why it's important to let some things go, so that you also can have a better life.
All right, like I said, we're going to have part 2 of this. Before we end this first part of this conversation, I want to ask us one question around the room, and we'll continue with the second part of this conversation, which is around the other part, father figures. So we are not necessarily your fathers, and be it spiritual and all that, some of the experiences around that, and how that helped you or also contributed to some of the experiences, ill experiences or better experiences that you have with father. And the question I would like to ask that is, what did you wish your father said or did? Yeah, maybe said to you that he never told you, or he did that he never, that what something he should have done that you wish he had done that he didn't do. And now, especially now that either as a husband or as a father yourself, or you know, what are those things? I don't know.
Yeah, for me, I have one that he said. I wanted him to say that he said. I didn't even plan that he would say it, but it was good he said it.
Yeah.
And there's the other one that I wish that he had said. So when I was about 16, he looked at me in the face one day and said, "Have you realized that there is nothing you cannot do?" I mean, I said to my children about a week ago, I cannot forget it. Yeah, in those days, he had meetings, you know, like the whole community would gather in our house to do meetings like once a month, you know. So, and other meetings that are gospel related, I get to be the one to pack the chairs, the speaker, dismantle, whether you join me or not, I just finish it. So he was just giving me feedback one day, thank you for all you do. My friends speak well of you, they're respectful, you make me proud. And have you noticed one more thing? Because I played keyboard, I played drums, I sang. Then he now made it more global and said, there's nothing you cannot do. It was like, and the father giving me such a fuel for my life. Like he said it from a place that I got what he was saying. That's why I've shared with you before. Responsibilities he gave me at 15, 17. When I look back to those days, I'm grateful that he had enough faith in me to feel you can handle this. Go get it done. So that's what he did right. Then number two, what I wish he had said more. I like heritage. I like to know where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
He spoke fairly okay and about where we're coming from, his father and his father's father, but this man, I guess that he knew when he was about to pass. And God gave me the chance to be one of the closest to him at that time. He died in Abuja. And he was telling me some things that he was seeing. But if you are seeing these things, then that should give you an indication that his lifetime is almost up. You could have said a lot more things. But there was a lot of things about his life, that I won't call it mystery, but he has this very vast background because he was not from the lineage of those who become, say, kings in his village, but this is a guy that kings of the communities revered. And so how did you get to this point where, so he didn't tell me a lot, and I wanted to hear a lot.
Yeah,
so that's the part that I missed.
That's interesting. Vicades?
Two things really. Number one, I wish he had a shield for his own pain. That it was not leaking everywhere. Like he had a shield for it, and then we could see the other side of him that was not a man of pain, a man in pain, a man distributing pain. Number two, I wish he had a cat.
A cat.
I
don't like cats. Sorry. If you're a cat lover,
I wish he had a pet, because what it's teaching me is you get this animal that is not on the same level of intelligence as you, and you say, I have chosen you as an object of my affection.
Take care.
And whether you come and chew my shoe or you claw me or something, we are stuck together. And I would need to accommodate you. You would need to change at some point. But the bottom line is unconditional love. I've chosen. You are not working. You are not doing anything for me. You are collecting money from me every month.
I get that.
But I've chosen you.
I get that. Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. The first time I will hear it makes sense.
For me, yes. I agree with you on that. Not for cats, not for cats, but for dogs. Yes, and I think that's very profound. Ade?
Okay, for me, right?
Said or did?
Okay, like I said, like I established earlier, I didn't have a very good relationship with my dad, and I'm not sure since I was born to now, I've served my dad for 10, 15, 20 minutes just
Wow.
Even when he calls on phone, now he's trying to call and we just greet each other casually. I can't remember the last time.
Does he have many of you? Is it
No, we were 5.
And it's not polygamous?
No, I think there was an issue that happened that day, but I really do not I don't know what
you're so much exaggerated.
Exactly. So I think another thing that he did, or what he did mostly, was that myself and my immediate younger brother, we are word apart. We don't like each other, or maybe
it's we
don't like each other. Exactly.
Okay.
So I don't use the word hate, but I don't like.
Is it a case of preference?
Absolutely.
Yes. That's
so and he doesn't hide it. This is my preferred son. There's nothing you do in the house that will ever be right.
Our fathers will learn that.
And that's something I learned as a father myself.
So now I just not like he has done anything to me, my younger brother, but I just don't vibe with him. I don't just say reason to call him. He has been in school, he's almost rounding up now. Okay, occasionally I just try to let me just reach out to him, support him. And then if I see his score, I just get angry for no reason. So that's I think something he did to me. It's I just hated that guy from childhood, from when he was because it has always been
right.
Actually, so it has always been this guy against this guy. We never had that relationship. We never. So maybe for the other to my two last siblings.
So you wish you didn't do that? You wish you didn't do that?
The preference was unnecessary. We didn't have a good relationship, but you don't have to rub it to our faces, especially myself and my older brother. So we just felt like maybe we're just bastards, we are not from his line and all of those things. So I wish he never did all of those things. And
but I actually wish I know we're going to talk on the part 2 about forgiveness. I also wish you also have that conversation. So I'm not with this has nothing to do with excuse with him. I just for him because it doesn't even make what is done or is did doesn't even make sense to me. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I still can't because I'm even assuming if your child was a very, very bad child, it's still your child. So I also learned that we are also a product of a story. And sometimes odd people. And so I believe there's a story behind that, and maybe helping him understand what he doesn't even understand might be the beginning of some not necessarily awesome healing, but also for him, but for you in terms of because like CJ said, what you ate and do nothing about, you become. So it's only a matter of time. You might not you know better that what he's doing is wrong, but sometimes unfortunately you just find like what you ate. You just find that you yourself you are doing it subconsciously. It may not be in that particular frame, but it might be in another way. And the reason I also want to come in there is, and I said it to parents. When I became a father myself, I also had to learn it because one of my daughters made a statement one day. I said, I know Daddy will not. When I heard that statement, that means if you are telling the other person that, somewhat suggestive that I'm the favorite child. You're already setting a trap. So it's something I really have to consciously put a hand to it from that very day, and to ensure that each child feels like they have the same. I'm their father or I'm the mother, whatever the case is, and ensure that you stay with that.
So conclude on that. So my own approach is now like, okay, the way I see my dad is, I want to be everything but him. Do you understand? Like, so I take that conscious effort, like deliberate effort that. If I see that I'm doing this, like for me to do anything, I have to look at him first and imagine that this is okay, this is where I'm coming from. So I have to take that double effort to ensure that I am everything directly opposite.
But it's hard.
Really not hard.
No, it's going to be. I'll tell you, don't worry.
Okay. I'm just saying for my own
experience. Yes, it's good. It's working now.
Because
you know why it's working? It's working now. I'll tell you. So when you become a father yourself, it becomes harder.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now it's work. It's hard. When I say it's hard, I'm speaking about the future. I'm not speaking about now. It's hard because it's working. It's a model that works, and it's good. But from experience, it's not sustainable because when you now become a father, there will be conflicts.
Okay, why I said
you won't see it now.
No, why I said
that? Of what you are trying to become a version of a son to your father, and a version of a father to your children. Where there is no link, it's either becoming two different persons over time consistently.
No, I agree.
That's what I mean.
No, there's a context.
But it's easier when you are able to get some form of healing, sort this end, so you are flowing from a new source into this new experience.
Let me give an example. Yeah. I'm trying to put it into context. For instance, my dad is someone that gets angry. And once he's angry, he can do a lot.
Yeah.
He can destroy anybody.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. Like he will take out the roof and everything.
Yeah.
Do you get? So, but in my own actions, once I'm angry, I walk away.
Yeah.
In fact, my dad he curses a lot. Abuses, he curses, he doesn't mind. And the funny thing is, Sunday morning like this, the first we are going to church, Sunday school, teacher, and all of those things. And
you can't reconcile.
Do you understand? At the end of the day, you now look at okay, what's really happening?
Why me?
Do you understand? So,
is it whining me?
You see now I tell you that okay, some of those things. So personally, I've said I can't live a double life like this. So even if I'm angry, I won't say negative things to you. I won't cause it. I'll just take my leave. I'll just exit so that my passion can. So those are some of the deliberate things I said that for every of my action, I look at what my dad do in this instant. Then I will not do the opposite.
Don't worry, we're still going to have that conversation because of our time. Our time is hard. Right. But the truth is that there's a reason why I say it's hard. And we'll have that conversation on another day. We'll come for part 2. And in what we'll be discussing in part 2 is the father figures and also the part 2. Healing, the part of forgiveness. Also, because for viewers who are watching who may have similar experiences or even worse experiences, it will be good to know how we are able to manage that conversation. Thank you very much for watching this part 2. We are back very soon for part 2. Watch out for that. Same people, we are trying to have this conversation as much as possible. And please remember to leave your comment, leave your questions so that we can have some of these questions to deal with in some of our next episodes. Thank you very much. See you very soon.
Hi, my name is Seth Ongwemi.
People call me PS. I'm excited to let you know that this is an exciting new season for us at the Guys Connect. Join me and Kyle Brimo or PK as we bring new topics, exciting topics, men-centric topics that affect men and people around them. Join us and other guys, new faces and old faces, as we discuss this exciting topic. It's going to be a very, very good time where we'll hear on topic mental health issue, relationship, money, and many other that affect men, and not just men, issues that affect even people with the ladies in their life. Please remember to join us, the Guys Connect, on YouTube and also on Instagram. Thank you very much. We look forward to hearing from you. Like, share, subscribe, and please turn on your notifications as new episode drops so that you can be one of the first people to get them. Thank you very much. See you next time.